In the beginning of this story, it is shown that some astronauts of NASA, who are on Mars and they are on their mission. All these astronauts are taking soil samples here, only then they get the information that there is going to be a very big storm here. And all of them have to cancel their mission now, and as soon as possible, they have to reach their flying object. And now all of them are moving towards their flying object. Then Mark Watney, who is an astronaut and a botanist, finds something with him and he gets lost in that storm. Although his commander tries a lot to find him, but Mark Watney is nowhere to be found. And neither is there any contact with him. And he thinks that Mark Watney is no longer in this world. And all of them come to their flying object and leave from there. But when the storm on Mars calms down, then it is shown that Mark Watney is still alive. And one of their equipments, a rod, has gone into his body, into his stomach, which is hurting him a lot. He somehow gets up from there and reaches inside his camp, which he has set up there for shelter. And he takes out that rod from his body. Mark Watney cannot contact anyone from here, because all the equipment to contact him, they have all been destroyed in the storm. And Mark is now trapped here alone. And his companions feel that he is not in this world, and if he has to leave from here, then he will have to wait for the next 4 years. Because NASA's next project will come 3,200 kilometers away from here after 4 years. And he will have to reach there. But Watney cannot wait for 4 years. Because he does not have food for 4 years. And now he will have to arrange food for himself in any way. That is why he decides that he will farm here on Mars. He has potatoes, and he wants to grow potatoes here. But he will need a lot of water to make the soil fertile. And there is no water on Mars. Watney is a botanist, so he knows what all things are needed for farming. And he is now preparing to farm here. Watney collects a lot of soil at one place. He puts potatoes in it and grows them. But now he has to make water. But the good news is that Watney knows how water is made. By mixing oxygen in hydrogen and burning it, water is made. And here Watney has all the resources. And he does it like this. But when he mixes oxygen in hydrogen for the first time, there is a huge blast. Because he does not calculate the oxygen that is coming from his breath, but next time he succeeds in mixing hydrogen and oxygen and burning it. And now water starts to be made there. Actually, this is how vaspiculture is done, with which small drops of water start to form there. And the water is made there as much as the soil needs water. And after a few days, the first plant is germinated there. Watney is very happy to see this. On the other hand, it is announced on Earth that Watney is no longer in this world. This news comes to the whole media, and they also do his funeral. But the next day when his operator is seeing pictures of Mars from the satellite, so he sees that his equipment has shifted from one place to another. Actually, these were the solar panels that Watney had shifted from one place to another. She calls her seniors, and they all understand that Watney is still alive on Mars. But his senior says that we know that he is alive, but by the time we reach there, he will die of hunger. And what he says is right somewhere. Because to reach Mars from Earth, he will have to travel for many months. And they know that Watney does not have food for such a long time. Now Watney has been on Mars for 70 days. And he calculates that the next mission of NASA that will land on Mars, it will land after 4 years. And the 3,200 kilometers away from here. And then he will have to reach there. And it will take him about 50 days to complete this journey. Because the car he has, he cannot drive more than 35 kilometers in a day. Because after that he will have to recharge his solar panels. Down there in NASA, people prepare to send food and help to Watney. But it will take them 3 months to prepare for it. And the flying object that he will send to Mars, it will take him 9 months to reach there. That is a whole year. At the same time, it has been 48 days since Watney's potato crop was planted on Mars. He has planted 400 plants, which will be better than his expectations. And now he takes out the potatoes. And he fertilizes the small potatoes again. Watney uses his manure for manure here. But he knows that if he does not contact NASA, then no matter how many potatoes he plucks, but he will not survive. That's why he goes to such a place from there, where there is a Pathfinder, which was damaged in 1997, and his contact with Earth was broken. And when Watney goes that way, the team of NASA, which keeps an eye on his movement through the satellite, they understand that Mark Watney is going to take that Pathfinder. Because there is nothing else there. But this is a very old system, and it can only click a photo from Mars and send it. That's why Watney puts 3 boards in front of that camera. The middle board in it is written, "Are you getting my signal?" And on the left board, "Yes" is written. And on the right, "No." And NASA moves the camera of that Pathfinder from below towards yes. And Watney understands that he is looking at me. And he is very happy about this. And after this, Watney uses codes to talk to him. And now they can talk to each other through messages. And he has sent a message from NASA that they are sending food and necessary things for you. Watney also finds out here that NASA has not yet told his crew that he is alive. And the crew that had this member, they are still in space and are coming towards Earth. But now NASA tells Watney's crew that Watney is alive. This makes his crew members happy and sad. They are sad because he left Watney alone there. But now he can't do anything. Now when everything is going well on Mars, then one day there is a blast where he planted potatoes, and all his crops go bad. And now he can't grow crops again, because the environment that he has created there, all that environment gets destroyed, and it is calculated that all the potatoes that Watney has, he can't stay alive by eating them, until help comes to him from Earth. That means when help comes to him from Earth, he must have died of hunger before that. That's why NASA gives a message to Watney, and tells him that you will have to eat as little as possible, so that as long as help and food reaches you, you can survive. And that's what Watney does. The food that he used to eat 3 times a day, now he has to run that food for 3 days. And below NASA prepares for the launch for him, in which there is food and necessary equipment for him. But here they are getting late. That's why they don't test it and launch it. But Watney's luck doesn't support him once again. After the launch, the rocket gets blasted in the sky, and everyone gets disappointed by this. Because now Watney can't survive. He doesn't have food. No one can help him. And when Watney finds out that the launch has failed, he breaks down, and he sends a message to NASA, in which it is written, "Do send this message to my parents. I am not giving up, but we should be ready for every consequence. You tell them that I like my work, and I am an expert in this. And even if I die in this, then there will be a good reason behind my death, which is more important than me. Tell them that I am not afraid of difficulties. I face them." But NASA has completely given up hope. But China decides to help NASA, because they are fully prepared to go to space. And now in 28 days, NASA is preparing to launch again with the help of China. Now there is a boy here. His name is Rich, and he works in astrodynamics. Rich tells NASA's team a way to save Watney. He says that the rest of the crew is coming back to Earth in this spaceship. If they do not come back to Earth and go around the Earth, and when they pass the orbit of the Earth, we will send all the necessary things to the spaceship from here. And through Slingshot, we will push the spaceship in which your 5 astronauts are coming back. We will push it back to Mars. Slingshot is called a gravitational pull, with which any ship is sent to space in any direction with the help of gravity. Rich says that when his ship will reach Mars, then he does not have to land on Mars. Because if they land on Mars, then their journey will end, and they will not be able to come back to Earth. He tells them that they do not have to land on Mars. But Watney Mav, that is a flying object which is already on Mars. With that Watney will have to come out of the orbit of Mars. And when he comes up, then the rest of the crew members will catch him. But all this is not so easy. In this, only to save Watney, NASA cannot put the lives of 5 astronauts in danger. But if they do this, then they will reach Watney before time. But the rest of the crew who will now reach their home, their mission will increase by 533 days, and NASA decides that they will not do this, because only to save Watney, whose life expectancy is much less than before, they cannot put the lives of their 5 astronauts in danger. On the same Mars, Watney now starts to complete that work, for which he came here, and which was incomplete due to the storm. On the other side, Rich Parnell, the same boy, who told NASA the plan to bring Watney back, he somehow manages to reach Watney. The whole plan reaches these 5 astronauts, and these 5 decide to bring Watney back without NASA's permission. And when NASA sees that the direction of their flying object is changing, then they understand that these 5 astronauts are now going back to take Watney. And NASA delivers all their necessities to them. In this way, China supports them. On the same Mars, Watney sets out to reach that flying object, on which he will sit and leave the orbit of Mars, and will reach that ship whose name is Hummus, in which Watney's 5 astronaut friends are coming to take him. Watney now reaches that place after a long journey of 90 days, from where he can leave Mars. But this is not so easy. Because this flying object weighs a lot. That's why Watney has to remove almost all its parts. Because if the weight is not reduced, then Watney will not be able to reach space, and the flying object from which those 5 astronauts are coming. If they land on Mars, then their fuel will run out, and they will not be able to land on Earth again. That's why Watney will have to reduce 5,000 kilograms from his flying object. And Watney has to remove all the things from his flying object and throw them out. And now Watney will go to space from such a flying object, from which it is very difficult to reach space. But Watney has to do this. The whole world's attention is on this mission. And Watney takes off, and now his flying object starts flying towards space. And he reaches space. His friends try to communicate with him through the radio, but he becomes unconscious due to the pressure. That's why he can't talk. But after a while he regains consciousness. And everyone is very happy. Now there is another problem here. That Watney's speed is very fast. And it is not so easy to catch him. Watney says that I will make a hole on my spacesuit. In the air that will come out of it, I will give myself a direction and reach you. His friends tell him not to do this. The speed of the Hermes spaceship is still very fast. That's why he has to make a bomb there. And fly a part of his spaceship. Due to which his speed decreases. And now he sees Watney coming towards him. And the commander of the spaceship sits on a flying chair. And goes to catch Watney. But the rope with which it is tied, it ends. And it is now impossible to reach Watney. And Watney does what he said. He makes a hole on his spacesuit. And leaves his flying object. In the air coming out of his spacesuit. He gives himself a direction. And somehow he reaches his commander, who has come to pick him up sitting on a chair. But as soon as he is about to hold his hand, he is released from his hand. But the rope with which it is tied, Watney holds that rope, and in this way he brings Watney back to his spaceship. And Watney's life is saved. And after facing so many difficulties, when Watney comes back to Earth, then he becomes the astronaut's instructor, who teaches him how to stay alive on other planets in other worlds. And with this story ends here.